Yay! Alfred is actually making progress on NoFab, and now he has just counted another day of NoFab. But wait, he's on day 4? And it's been half a year since he's been on NoFab. Come on, Alfred. You should be making more progress by now. It's been half a year since you've been trying to do NoFab. He thinks by day 90, all these girls are gonna come up to him and they're just gonna smell the retention on him and then they're just gonna beg to suck his dick. Hey bro, let me tell you my story. I'm 14 years old and it's finally the weekend after a long week of school. Oh my god, thank god it's finally the weekend, right? Now I could indulge in pleasure and instant gratification because now it's my day off after a long week of doing hard schoolwork that won't even matter to me in a couple years from now, right? So I'm 14 years old and I'm waking up from a long sleep. I was very sleep deprived during school around this time in the year of 2022. I specifically remember I was sleeping through all of my classes. All my classes were boring as shit, and also I was very sleep deprived because they gave us too much homework and I was only in middle school. So they were basically overworking me. I wake up from my long sleep and it's Saturday morning and I look at the time and I've slept in a lot. It is 11 a.m. And I specifically remember the time because I have never slept in this long before. Usually I only sleep in till 10 or 9 and it's super late for me to wake up at this time. I just feel very refreshed, although I do feel like I've already missed half of the day because I've woken up super late already. I haven't even got out of bed yet. I haven't even brushed my teeth. I instantly grab my iPad and I start scrolling on TikTok. And while I'm doing this, I have a rock solid in my pants and I feel very, very horny and I just want to do some nasty, dirty things and I'm just like very like tempted to do it. I'm very tempted to do this and then I'm just like, okay Val, don't do this. Don't do it, man. Don't indulge in it, okay? You don't let these demons overcome you. And then I start overthinking it and the demons start poking at me and I get super horny. And as I'm scrolling on TikTok, I come across twerking videos and I come across these girls doing these butt trends where they show off their butt and they start twerking. So then that automatically doesn't help and it makes me even hornier. So then I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll fab. It's the weekend, you know, instant pleasure. And plus, it's the morning, so why not? Let's get my day started with CEO fabbing routine. I start fabbing and I start doing some mass destruction. And I remember specifically I was on the website P-Hub. I binge watch videos and I'm binge watching specifically MILFs. I had a very big fetish for MILFs. I don't know why, it was very weird. I liked older women. For some reason I liked cougars. I was like obsessed with them. I'm on the hub and I'm watching these videos. I'm binge watching these videos one by one by one by one. And then eventually, pop, I relapse. That's number 1. It's probably been like 20 minutes since I started binge watching these videos and 20 minutes since I've woken up from my deep sleep. I feel kind of good. I feel like, yes, I got my horniness cured. I feel good. And then I'm like, I've never gone more than once in a day and I kind of feel like doing it. I was thinking to myself, I'm very horny. I want to get rid of this horniness. So the only way I could think of doing this is just jerking off as much as possible. And plus, I already relapsed, so like, I'm basically at day 0 and I might as well just make it worth my time, right? Since I'm already at day 0. I end up doing round 2, but this time I'm using my imagination. And I think it's because then if I imagine it, then I'm imagining like, oh yes, this scenario with this girl, this scenario with that girl. And I'm just thinking about it. So then I'm doing the work, I'm doing the dirty, and then boom, that's number 2. After round 2, then my dick literally hurts. Like it actually like hurts. Like I have this burning sensation and like now I just feel like super uncomfortable. Now my dick hurts and like I could barely even like move because of it, and I'm not even hard anymore. I just feel like super lethargic, and I feel tired now, and I feel fatigued. And I had like probably like a 10-hour sleep, and I've slept until noon, and I feel tired now because I've relapsed twice within an hour. But then I'm like, third time's the charm, so I better do it the third time, right? I might as well just fab as many times before I like start holding off again, right? It actually makes it harder for you to retain when you fab a lot when you reset your streak. You're not going to get used to just holding off, and you're not going to get used to just retaining your seed. You're going to get used to just releasing as much as you want to. If you do relapse, you should just do it once and never do it again. You shouldn't just do it multiple times and go on a rampage in a fabathon, because then that's going to actually derail your success a lot. For example, a boxer fighting, and then he says, oh yeah, I'm gonna break my hand. Like, it's the same thing. Like, you're trying to make success on NoFab, you shouldn't be fabbing your dick off. You shouldn't be doing a fabathon. You should literally not do it at all. But if you do it and you do fail, get the fuck back up, never do it again, and do some fucking push-ups or something. And anyways, so after the second time, I'm like, I want to do this again because I want to make it worth my while. I've already reset my NoFab streak, so I might as well just make it worth my while. 3 times, third time's the charm, right? So then I do it the third time, and I'm using my imagination again, and then as I nut, I get this sharp pain coming out of my dick, and it hurts. And like, now I'm not even hard as I'm fabbing. Like, I just feel soft and I feel like I'm in a lot of pain, and it hurts. So then I go straight to the bathroom. I literally try pissing, and as I'm trying to piss, I literally can't piss for some reason. And so it literally took me 5 minutes to pee normally again. And not even normally, because then as I pissed, I literally felt a burning sensation come out of my dick as I was doing it. Like, it hurt. It just hurt. And this was my CEO fab routine of a 14-year-old. I thought that doing this and binge fabbing was like really good for me, because then I was actually gonna like hold off for a while. I already reset my streak, so like I might as well do it as much as I want to, right? I might as well just have a fabathon, right? No, you shouldn't do that. You should never have a fabathon, nor should you ever fab. And this was like the actual time in my life where I wanted to like start shifting my life. Like, I wanted to start making major progress in NoFab, and I wanted to stop forever. And there was just something that clicked inside of me, and I was like, I want to stop this. This is really bad for me. This is like affecting my mental health. This is affecting me as a person and my personality. This is not helping me whatsoever. So I'm trying to think of ways to do this, and I just wish there was like a guide or like a strategy to help me with this, and I wish there was someone out there to help me. I had to come up with a strategy, and I had to come up with my own ideas and do my own research. As a teenager, 14-year-old, it's very hard to have this much mental maturity and actually like think about this and actually go through with it. But luckily, I was able to know that this addiction was so bad for me, and I wanted to quit because I was instantly feeling guilty after each relapse, and I don't want to be indulged in a habit that makes me feel like shit doing it all the time. So I'm trying to think, and I'm trying to like actually find a way to quit this, but I need a guide. And I need someone to help me. And that's what I'm gonna teach you, bro. And you're never gonna relapse ever again, bro, with this full guide. This full guide will completely change your life, bro. And you will never have to relapse ever again. And you'll never feel like relapsing ever again. Once you understand fabbing, and once you understand everything else that comes with it, then you will never want to fab ever again. So this guide will exactly change your mindset, and it will change your life about NoFab, and it will just change the way you think about this and how you approach things when you have urges and when you feel like relapsing. There's going to be different strategies and different ways to like get rid of this problem in these obstacles, and I'll be going over this in this guide. This video will go over how to never relapse again, getting rid of streaks, never watching pee again, and understanding addiction. I'm going to completely remove the mindset that you have right now about NoFab and get rid of this idea of streaks and everything else that comes with it that these brainless YouTubers have taught you. Everything that these guys have taught you is basically setting you up for failure, and you do not understand why yet, but I will explain this to you in this guide today. And instead of cutting this addiction off immediately, because when you cut off an addiction or you try to get rid of it immediately, then you're just going to end up falling into it even more, and you're going to be even more tempted to do it, and it's just going to go wrong for you. So today, instead of just making you get rid of it totally, we're going to help you reduce the number of how many times you actually fab. Instead of streaks, forget streaks. Just forget streaks and forget everything else that has to do with NoFab and what these guys have taught you on YouTube. Instead, we're just gonna talk about how you should reduce your amount of fabbing. So focusing on reducing fabbing and just not doing it in general is what we need to focus on. Not streaks, not numbers, not the day, not the goal day that you're trying to get to, not day 90. We're not doing any of that. And you may want to, that may sound good, like you want to get to day 90, but you'll actually get there with this new mindset. Also, bro, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to develop some new strategies and some new habits that you could use to help you completely get rid of this habit, and to also do these habits instead of indulging in porn and watching these degenerate videos. Basically, I'll teach you how to develop good mental health, also understanding guilt-free relapses, and also why I believe a bunch of young men are falling victim and falling into temptation every single day with this. And specifically, I'm going to help you to never relapse again. So first, you need to understand addiction. And then I'll be giving you a strategy that I've also implemented into my own journey to forever stop fabbing and to get out of this rabbit hole, so you can get out of this rabbit hole as well. So first, you need to understand why you are addicted to porn videos and why you keep fabbing in the first place. So there's actually an analogy that helped me understand addiction, and that actually helped me understand fabbing and why we're so addicted to it. And basically, this experiment and analogy was basically, there were these scientists that did an experiment with rats, and they put these rats into different types of cages. And the specific type of cages they put them in, one was nothing to do other than to drink regular water. And then there was another cage that they put these other rats into, same type of rats, nothing different. They put these rats into a cage with water, however, the water was laced with Coke. One of the cages had regular water and one of the cages had water laced with Coke. And if you have heard about this experiment before, you'll know that the rats inside the Coke cage died. And the reason this is because when you are in solitary confinement, then you're most likely gonna overdose on the addiction that you're addicted to. Like these rats. These rats got addicted to Coke water and they were in solitary confinement, so they overdosed on the substance that they were only provided with in their solitary confinement. When you're trapped inside the environment with your urges that trigger you to fall into the addiction that you're addicted to, then you're going to end up relapsing in your addiction, and you're going to end up falling into it again because you're stuck in an environment with nothing else but to go to the addiction that you're already addicted to. When you're inside the environment that causes you to have these urges and triggers you to fall into this addiction, specifically porn, when you're alone and trapped inside your environment, then your urges are more likely to trigger you to relapse in your addiction. And the reason this is because when you're by yourself and you're alone in your environment and you have nothing else to do but to go to the substance that you're addicted to, then you're most likely gonna go to it and you're gonna overdose on it. Just like the rats. The rats had nothing else to do, but they were stuck in their environment, their solitary confinement, which was their cage. They had nothing else to do but to go to the Coke water, and then they ended up overdosing on it. And that's exactly you. When you're stuck in your environment, then you have nothing else to do but to fab. When you're stuck in your environment and you're alone and all by yourself, then you're more likely to fab, and you're gonna feel more urges and more triggers to watch porn and to fab in general. Then the living rats that had the normal water were placed into this big cage called Rat Park. And basically a bunch of rats were put into here, and there were a bunch of like things to do for the rats. They're able to run around and play. there were toys that they could play with, they had good food, they had good sleep, and they were able to have sex as well. However, in Rat Park, there was the Coke water and the regular water that was in there as an option for them to drink. However, none of the rats drank the Coke water. All of them drank the regular water. And these rats, none of them went to the Coke water. They went to the regular water. And the reason why they didn't go to the Coke water is because they had no reason to. And the reason why these rats in Rat Park did not drink the Coke water is because they were not stuck in solitary confinement. They had fun, and they had good food, they had good sleep, and good toys to play with. And since they weren't stuck in solitary confinement in a cage with just Coke in it and nothing else, then they were able to actually stay away from it and not overdose on the substance they could have been addicted to. Instead, they didn't have to. They had to drink only the regular water because they weren't stuck in solitary confinement. They weren't by themselves. They were surrounded by other rats and other things to do. They didn't have to go to the Coke water. They didn't have to resort to it because they had other things to do than to actually overdose on the substance that they were already addicted to, because they weren't in solitary confinement. This goes to show you, when you're taking out of your casual environment, then you're more likely to spin away from that addiction that you're addicted to, and you're more likely to have less urges and less triggers to actually do that addiction ever again. When you're taken out of your regular environment and out of solitary confinement, you're more likely to enjoy life instead of actually overdosing on the substance that made you very addicted. Because when you're stuck in that cage all day, or when you're stuck in your solitary confinement, your regular environment, then you're most likely to feel sad. You're most likely gonna have a reason to want to go to the addiction that you're already addicted to. You have nothing else to do but to resolve to that. And that's because you're stuck in your same environment and you haven't changed up your environment, and you're stuck in solitude and you have nothing else to do and you're very lonely. This exactly replicates NoFab and porn for you, bro. Porn addiction and fabbing is the symptoms of the real problem. The real problem isn't porn and fabbing. It's actually the solitary confinement, and it's the fact that you haven't changed up your environment. That's the real problem. And the problem is that when you're in solitary confinement and when you're in the same environment, then you're more likely to fall into addiction again. And you're more likely to fall into the substance that you're addicted to, and you're most likely to overdose on it. You're stuck in the same environment with the same triggers that trigger you to do these habits that you don't want to do. And all these triggers are all around you in your environment right now, and you haven't switched it up yet. Let me give you an example, bro. Say a smoker wants to quit smoking, right? But then they keep going to the smoking lounge. Of course, they're not going to make any progress. They keep going to the same environment that made them stuck to this addiction in the first place. They haven't changed up their environment. They haven't changed up their habits. Now, let's say the smoker moves in with his or her family. Of course, he's never going to think of touching a cigarette ever again, because now he's in a different environment where he's never going to fall into the traps of smoking ever again. And that's because in his old environment, the smoking lounge, there were triggers all around him to make him want to relapse and make him smoke again. And that's the same with NoFab. When you change your environment, then you're most likely never going to want to fab ever again. And also, another thing is, when we're feeling shitty, then we're most likely going to want to go to something that makes us feel good and makes us feel pleasure and makes us feel happier. So we're most likely going to fall into the addiction that made us feel numb or numbed out our feelings. Maybe gives you more comfort and you actually feel more loved because you're watching these people online, these random weird strangers online bang each other, and you actually feel intimacy. And maybe you're deprived of intimacy, so that's why you're also seeking porn and fabbing. That's why staying inside your room all day under the bed sheets like a little caveman on tab 54 of Pornhub, that's why you're always fabbing, because you've never changed up your routine and you've never changed up your habits, and you're stuck in the house all day. And that's why you bust several nuts a day. And that's why you overdose on your addiction, NoFab. It's kind of similar to the rats that overdosed on Coke water, because you're stuck in solitary confinement. You haven't changed up your habits, and you haven't changed up what you do, and you haven't changed up your environment. And also the book Atomic Habits, and along with some YouTubers like Ice Cold JT and Hamza also talks about this, where you should not be in the same environment 24/7, or else you're gonna definitely fall into the same urges, the same triggers that make you fall into these traps of falling into fabbing again. So this is why you need to change up your environment. Now, one of the things that will forever change your life and view on fabbing and porn is destroying this mindset that you have about streaks, days, or like how much time you've been on NoFab for. Completely destroy that mindset right now. We're gonna reset that for you. When you have this mindset about streaks and this mindset about how many days you're on, then you're still having the identity that you're trying to quit fabbing. And when you have this identity that you're just trying to quit, like NoFab, usually people talk about how many days they're on, how much time they've been doing this for. You're not supposed to think like that, because then when you do, then you're most likely gonna relapse again. And that's due to the fact that you keep identifying yourself as someone who keeps fabbing. When you count streaks, then it's like you're only counting the time that you're staying away from this habit. You're not making it a lifestyle. NoFab is not a thing. Don't even think of NoFab as a thing. Not fabbing at all in general is a lifestyle. Because when you associate yourself on NoFab, then you're just thinking of yourself as clearing yourself from fabbing for this many days only. And then you eventually relapse. You don't ever think about it as a lifestyle. And that's why you keep fabbing. It's because you haven't changed up the way you think about streaks. Streaks you should never have, because when you have streaks, then you're going to always fall back into fabbing again. And that's because you're associating yourself with the person who is trying to quit. Say you're trying to quit video games and you've gone a couple days without playing video games. And then you constantly obsess, oh, I'm on day 3 of quitting PS4 and playing video games online. Oh man, if only after my long streak I could go back and start playing again. These streaks, and you have these days and you keep counting all the time, like, oh, I'm on this hour of NoFab, I'm on this day, I'm on this month, I'm on this week, I'm on this time frame right now of NoFab. Then you're constantly giving yourself the identity that you're only doing this for that certain amount of time, and then when you actually fail or relapse on NoFab, then you're gonna go back to it. You're not making it a lifestyle. You're just thinking of it as how many days you could go as long as possible without actually fabbing. And then you end up falling back into addiction and you can't quit. So you have to make it a lifestyle. Stop thinking about streaks. Instead of thinking about streaks, think about reducing the amount of fabbing you actually do. When you reduce the amount of fabbing you actually do, then that's way better than setting streaks, because when you set streaks, then like I said, you're just identifying yourself with this amount of time that you're only going to do it for until you fail again, and you're just going to go back to it. You're not identifying yourself as someone who just does this for a lifestyle and doesn't think of it as like anything. When you think of NoFab as a full-time job, then you're most likely going to relapse, because you're just obsessing over how long you haven't fabbed, and then you're eventually just going to fall back into it, because you're not really thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about your progress. You're not thinking about your goals. You're just thinking about fabbing all the time and when you're going to be able to do it again. So you got to just eliminate fabbing and stop thinking about it as like a full-time job, and just think about it as a lifestyle. Like, it's just something you don't do. You don't fab. So just get rid of it and stop thinking about it. So we want to reduce the amount of times you actually fab. And the reason this is because if we reduce the amount of times you fab, then you're most likely not going to think about streaks, and you're just going to focus on reducing the amount of how much you actually indulge in this fabbing addiction in general. Because you don't want to think about it as totally eliminating the addiction or totally just scrapping it and never doing it again, because then you're gonna probably like maybe not do it for a little bit, and you're gonna like kind of get away from it and think you're gonna get away with it, but then in reality you're just gonna set yourself up for failure, and you're gonna fall back into it again because you're not reducing the amount you've done it. Because think about it, you've been fabbing since like what, 11, 12 years old, and now you're like, I don't know, 15, my age, or like you're in your 20s. You've been doing this for a long time. You have been doing this for years. You're gonna have to reduce the amount you do this. If you just totally cut it off, it's not gonna work. You're gonna fall back into it, and you might actually indulge in this addiction and fall into it harder than you have before. So you just gotta reduce the amount of times you do it. We specifically do this by month. Let's say like right now you beat your meat like 30 times per month. So instead of beating your meat 30 times for a month, next month you're gonna do it for only 15 or 20. You're gonna reduce it a little bit. And then eventually the next month you're gonna reduce it to 15 times. And then the next month 10 times. And then the next month 5 times, and then the next month 0. So see, you just reduce it over time and over weeks and months. So then once you do that, then you're just starting to get slowly used to not doing this addiction. Because if you just totally cut it off, then you're gonna go crazy. You're gonna actually fab again, and you're gonna fall back into this addiction, and it's gonna pull you harder, and you're just never gonna get out of it. So you gotta reduce the amount of times you do it, because that's the only fastest way and only most helpful way to actually stop doing it. Instead of thinking about it as streaks and just thinking about how much time you've quit this thing for right now, you gotta think about it as how much you've been doing it less monthly. So you gotta do it at least 5 times less than you have the previous month before. So if you've done it 30 times this month, next month do it 25 times. If you've done it 25 times this month, then go down to 20. You know what I mean. So just de-level how many times you actually do this and reduce the amount of times you actually fall into the habit. So when you just reduce the amount of times you do this, then you're just gonna start to get away from it, and you're just gonna actually like depart yourself from ever falling into this habit again, because you're just reducing how much time you actually spend into this habit monthly and weekly. Mental health and how it correlates to fabbing. Now you, bro, I bet you've probably felt lonely recently, and you've probably felt very, very deprived of love and intimacy at least once in your life, and that's why you've fallen into this addiction of fabbing. So the reason why you fall into addiction is because of your mental health. Your mental health is so shit, and when your mental health is shit, then you're more likely to mask your depression with these things that currently put a band-aid on your wounds to like make you feel a little bit better in the moment, but in reality it's just not helping you at all. So you're actually just masking your depression by just doing these habits that you're addicted to, and you're just finding ways to cope with your pain, and that's because of your bad mental health. The reason why you fab is probably because you're lonely, you're deprived of love and intimacy, and whatever, maybe you just don't have any friends, or you're just very lonely. You basically just have to change this. You gotta go and try and make friends. You gotta be less lonely. You gotta actually go outside of your house, bro. When's the last time you stepped outside of your house and actually gone out? Go out with some people. And if you don't have any friends, then go try and make some. Go try and make some online. I bet you could. With your stinky ass chair, your gaming chair that you're currently sitting in right now, I bet you could go make some friends on Discord online and maybe meet up with them. Or who knows, maybe you could meet a girl that you just meet while going outside. Like, just go out of your house and stop being so lonely and so depressed inside the house. I know it's tough. I've been there before. I've been very lonely and I've been very sad before in my life, where I've been deprived of intimacy and I felt very trash in my life before. I get it. But how I changed this was I literally started making friends. I started being more part of social groups, more social interactions. I started talking to more people, being less lonely, and I started feeling more in the group. I didn't feel as left out. And that helped me to feel less lonely. That helped my mental health because I wasn't deprived of intimacy. I wasn't deprived of not seeing people or actually spending time with people. Maybe spend time with the ones that you love and the ones that love you. So if you don't have any friends, go spend time with your family. That will for sure change your mental health. That will improve your mental health for the better. You'll feel happier. And if you're not around your family right now, maybe you live far from them, then maybe just go make some friends online. Don't be lonely. Don't stay inside the house all day and just wish that you had friends. Go actually do something about it. Go outside of the house and try and make some friends. And bad mental health just literally fucks up everything for you, and it makes you fab even more, because then you're gonna be more addicted and you're gonna fall into this addiction. That's why you should have better mental health. And my strategy, the way I've improved my mental health, even when I felt lonely before, some ways you could conquer this and get around it is meditating, journaling, and being busy. Because when you're distracting yourself and you're being busy, then you're just distracting yourself from the bullshit that you're dealing with right now, and you're distracting yourself with the problems that you're currently going through and all the trials and tribulations that you have in your life right now. When you're staying busy, you're not thinking about it. You're in a flow state. You're like present. You're not thinking about the bullshit that happened last week. No, you're focused right now in the moment. So when you meditate, you actually create more mindfulness and become more present, and you're not like overthinking as much. And also with meditation, it also makes you mindful of like preventing yourself from doing the bad habit. Like, for example, it could also help you with preventing yourself from eating that junk food. It could make you mindful and remember, oh, don't eat this, don't fall unconscious into doing this, and it'll like remind you of like the bad benefits it has, instead of you just falling unconscious and just eating the junk food. And same with fabbing. When you meditate, then you're practicing being mindful, and you're being mindful of your decisions, and you're like, yeah, if I do this, I'm actually gonna mess up my life and I'm gonna make it worse by fabbing. So why should I fab? I'm not gonna fab now. So when you have meditation, it's like that extra protection to protect you from like actually like further doing any action related to that addiction. So when you meditate, it just makes you more mindful, and you're not gonna feel like as like tempted to fab, because then you're not like constantly thinking about it, you're not obsessing over it. And also then just being mindful of not fabbing, then it's gonna help you to just like stay away from porn, and you won't get as tempted so easily. And also it's gonna give you just like a warning, like don't do this habit and don't watch this video or else you're gonna probably fab. Like, for example, when I used to meditate, I still meditate, but when I meditate, and when I was first developing the strategy, when I used to meditate, I used to literally meditate, and it would help me to like be more mindful of my decisions and to be more like stood away from porn, and to actually like part myself away from porn. And an example could be like when I started meditating more, I realized that TikTok was like part of my urges, and it was part of like my normal environment, and it was causing me to relapse more. So meditation helped me to like get rid of TikTok and to delete it. And I had 2,000 followers, but it came with a cost. It was ruining my mental health, TikTok, and it was making me relapse on NoFab all the time. And not even NoFab, it was just making me relapse in fabbing. And so meditation helped me to be more mindful and to stay away from that app and to stay away from the toxicity that app had. And meditation just like made me mindful. It made me like more smart with decisions, and it would make me like smarter when it came to like staying away from fabbing. Like now, as I meditate, it keeps me away from like doing the dumb decisions that would make me fab. Now that I meditate, it helps me to be more mindful to not do this thing in order for it to not trigger me to want to fab. So it ends up just making you like mindful, and for you to prevent yourself from actually falling into this trap of fabbing, into like, oh, okay, that thing right there, that's bad. I need to stay away from that. So I'm gonna do this instead. So being mindful and meditation helps with that, and it helps you to just realize what you're doing and realize that what you're doing could be either good for you or it could be bad for you. So it just gives you like a little warning, and it just helps you to like feel more present. It makes you feel like you want to be busier. It makes you feel like you don't want to waste your time just watching like big asses on screens like 24/7. It makes you actually want to go out there and put some fucking hard work in. Like meditation is awesome. And meditation just like literally like helped me the most, I think, when I started like part myself away from this addiction, when I actually like started like fully reduce my amount of fabbing. Like meditation definitely helped because it was just making me more mindful, and it was just making me think like to do healthier habits instead of watching porn and watching softcore porn on TikTok. It was making me like less sexualized, and it was also like making me less desperate for like sex. So like it helped my brain a lot to like think more like a normal person instead of thinking like fucking everything I see. Also journaling. Journaling also helps because journaling, when you write down your feelings and when you write down a little journal entry of what you've done today and how you feel and just venting to yourself, then you feel better. You're not just like holding up all that extra feelings and feeling really like tight, and you don't feel as like stressed when you like release it. Because then instead of having to release your stress by busting a nut like a little monkey or having to like watch Lana Rhoades bounce her ass, you could release your stress by literally just writing words on a paper. This is just as powerful and way better for you than just releasing your nut. Because when you release your nut, you're probably just reducing that stress and you just feel better. But in reality, it makes your life way worse. So when you journal, it actually reduces stress for you and it causes you less to fab. And it's also another way to keep you mindful. For example, you could journal like, oh yeah, I feel like fabbing today, but if I actually do it, then it's gonna mess up my life. And so like it just gives you that extra edge to like remember, oh yeah, I wrote this down in my journal about fabbing, so I probably shouldn't do it because I talked about it with myself today in my journal entry. So for this reason in my journal entry it says don't do it and don't fab, so I'm gonna stay away from it. And that just gives you more mental mindfulness. So definitely journal how you feel, definitely journal your urges, and definitely journal that why you should stay away from it and your purpose to stay away from fabbing and watching porn. And also when you journal, it also just reduces stress, makes you feel more relieved, makes you feel happier because you're just getting stuff off of your mind. When you keep stuff all the time to yourself, it's not good for you. And nor always talking about it and constantly thinking about it, it's not good for you to constantly obsess over something. But you need to let it go, and sometimes you need to talk about it. And when there's no one to talk to you, then you could literally journal with yourself and talk about it with yourself, and it feels like you're literally talking to someone about it. And this is gonna all of these techniques are gonna all improve your mental health. All of them are going to improve your mental health, and it's going to make you feel happier and just mentally better. Because when you feel like shit and when your mental health feels like shit and you feel depressed, then of course you want to go fab. Of course it's easier to type Pornhub unconsciously on your phone. Of course you're going to want to go watch degenerate videos online on these evil websites. Of course you're going to want to, but when you have better mental health, you're more mindful and you're less likely to fab. And you don't want to waste your energy and waste your time on these stupid websites and stupid apps. So just improving your mental health will definitely put you one step ahead, and specifically meditation and journaling and staying busy will constantly keep you like focused on yourself, and it'll keep you from doing anything related to porn or fabbing, because it's just gonna make you happier and it's gonna make everything seem way better for you, and it's gonna make your life seem way simpler. Identifying triggers. Now, this is different for everyone. You need to identify your trigger, and what I mean by that, you need to identify why you get so horny in the first place. Maybe it's because you just woke up and you don't have a different habit besides fabbing. You never changed your habit. So instead, if you wake up and you fab immediately, then you gotta change your habit of, okay, wake up, use the bathroom, brush my teeth, go outside for a little bit, and start my morning that way. Or maybe you need to change your routine before you go to bed. Maybe you get an urge to fab before you go to bed. This used to be like one of my most like difficult like problems with fabbing. I used to fab before I went to sleep because it would give me deeper sleep, and I felt like it would just feel healthier for me, but in reality it wasn't doing shit for me. So what I did was, instead of fabbing before I slept, what would help me to sleep faster and sleep deeper was actually meditation. Meditation sleeping is just literally where you practice meditating, but you're falling asleep while you do it. So like, you're in a quiet place, it's dark, your room, and you just meditate and you slowly fall asleep. And it's the best thing you could do. It's better than jerking off like a little monkey before you sleep. Of course it is. It's gonna make you feel way more refreshed, and you're gonna feel more mindful, of course, because you know it's a meditation, so meditation is good for you. Another thing could be, maybe you jerk off when you're bored. When you're bored, you should be working on yourself, 1, or 2, you should be hanging out with family or talking with family, or 3, you should go outside. Because when you're bored, you shouldn't just stay inside the house all day. That's destined for failure. Of course, if you're bored and you have nothing else to do and you're trapped inside your room under the sheets like a little caveman, then of course you're gonna bust a nut and you're gonna relapse. So you have to get out of the house. That's the most important thing. And if you can't, just go hang out with family inside your house. And if you don't have family, then literally go work on yourself. Go bust some push-ups right now if you're bored. Don't get bored and lay around all day, or else you're destined to fail on fabbing. And personally, one of my biggest things and one of my biggest urges was going onto TikTok and going onto social media and scrolling on specifically TikTok in the morning when I woke up. Like how I explained in the story in the beginning of the video, I used to scroll every morning on TikTok before I got out of bed, which is super bad for you. You shouldn't pick up your phone first thing in the morning. A lot of people talk about this, but the reason is you shouldn't consume easy dopamine like that first thing in the morning. But I used to do it, and basically I would scroll on TikTok first thing in the morning, and then I would see a twerking video of a girl, and I was already rock hard because I woke up from a long sleep. So of course I wanted a fab after I saw that video. I was like, God damn, I want a fab. So you want to identify your trigger, and you want to, instead of completely eliminating that trigger, you want to replace it with a healthier habit. If you have the urge to go fab, well then change that habit and maybe read a book. Or maybe if you have the urge to fab while you're inside the house, just go outside the house for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and that'll immediately get rid of your urge. You're not going to feel like busting a nut in public. I hope not. You're just going to want to replace fabbing with a different habit, and you're going to want to replace that trigger, that specific trigger that you get that makes you fail each time. You want to replace that with a different habit and find something that works for you, and something that like completely gets rid of your urge and thought of fabbing. Because then when you replace it with a healthier habit and something that makes you just like think way more clear, and instead of like obsessing over the thought of like seeing ass and fabbing, then it's good for you, and it's going to help you to be better. Then it's going to help you to actually retain and not fab again. So find a good habit that works for you. Find something that's healthy and something that actually you enjoy. Guilt-free relapses. Now, I've talked about this before, but basically, you don't want to feel guilty and you don't want to feel like shit when you do relapse. And you might actually relapse, like, especially after watching this video, bro, because you're in the process of reducing your fabbing in general. So it's going to take some time to get rid of this habit and reduce, like, you actually doing it. So you actually want to have guilt-free relapses. You don't want to feel guilty, and you don't want to feel like shit and beat yourself up for it, and you don't want to like start like talking shit to yourself because you just failed. No, that's not the way you do it. You have to actually feel guilt-free. You have to be somewhat proud of the progress you've made. If you've gone like a couple days longer, don't count your days, of course, but if you've gone longer than you have before ever, like while like retaining yourself from fabbing, then yes, that's progress. Be proud of yourself. Don't just bitch yourself and be like, oh man, why'd I do that? I hate myself. No, don't do that. You're going to be more anxious the next time you do relapse. Don't make yourself feel guilty. Just forgive yourself and move on, because if you keep giving yourself a guilt trip, then you're going to feel stuck about it and you're not going to be able to move on. Because when you obsess over making yourself feel guilty and you feel like shit, then you're actually punishing yourself and you're just making yourself more stressed to want to actually go back to that habit. Remember when I said that stress and bad mental health could make you fab more? Well, basically, when you make yourself feel guilty, then you're actually putting more stress on yourself. So it's actually causing you to like want to fab more. It sounds weird, but it actually makes you fab more, because the stress you get from making yourself feel guilty, and it just makes you feel like a loser. So like it makes you feel like shit and you feel really insecure. So of course you're going to want to like reduce the anxiety and reduce the bad feelings by fabbing. Of course you are, if you make yourself feel guilty. So you're going to fab even more if you have guilt. So instead of feeling guilty, just forgive yourself. Be like, hey bro, and just be cool with yourself. Don't make yourself have a whole fucking pity party because of this shit. Just move on and don't ever do it again. And if you do, so what? Just be proud of the progress you made, or just be like, I failed on this, but I know I could do better by doing this thing. Instead of just saying, oh guys, I failed. Fuck me. I hate myself. No, don't do that dumb shit. You sound like a bitch when you do that. Literally just say to yourself, I failed, but I know next time I could change this so I don't. So I'm going to try that next time. Be more proud. Don't feel guilty, because then you're going to end up failing and it's going to make everything a shit show. And basically you're jeopardizing your progress and from actually quitting this addiction forever. So no more guilt. Why so many men are falling into this addiction? I believe one of the main reasons why is because a lot of men nowadays are just very lonely and deprived of intimacy and love. So they seek porn and fabbing as the solution, but in reality it's just masking their depression and it's just putting a band-aid over their wounds. And a lot of men probably feel lonely is because the ones that are actually trying to make a change for their life and trying to actually make it in self-improvement and trying to get the gains, trying to get the money, trying to get the girls, and like actually are on the grind, they're in a whole different social hierarchy, and they're in a whole different like type of social group compared to the losers that play video games all day, talk about what they did last weekend, talk about the new YouTube videos that have been posted from their favorite YouTuber or the favorite live streamer. Like, it's different. Like, these two social groups are totally different. Like, nowadays in the younger age and like the younger audience, they promote more of like the degenerates, and they promote more of like the stupid people that like do these stupid habits, that party, do these nasty habits, do a bunch of bad stuff. Basically they promote this instead of actually doing the right stuff like meditation, journaling, making money, being productive. They promote this instead of this, which is pretty fucked up. And nowadays it makes us feel very left out in the group that is actually trying to change and make ourselves better. And that's what's making us trying to like fit in. And since we don't fit in into this self-improvement group and we're not seeking much social validation from it, of course we're going to want to go to the original group that gave us a lot of validation and made us feel good, right? Because we don't want to feel lonely, we don't want to feel deprived of intimacy, so we want to seek all social validation as much as possible. A lot of people who are trying to change their lives, especially for the better, are struggling to find friends and struggling to actually not be lonely and not so deprived of love and like socialness and social circles. This is why, because most people are like promoting all these degenerates instead of actually the productive people that make a difference for the world. And of course, the people that want to seek validation and want to seek social validation and don't care about their future are going to go for the degenerate group. And they're more likely going to be with the group that fabs, because it seems more socially fitting, it's more socially acceptable, so they're going to go with the group that accepts it more. They'd rather be with the group that is accepting with it than the group that is lonely and not accepting. I'm not saying it's good to be lonely, but don't join the losers. Make your own group and more people will follow you. More people will try to be like you and they'll try to fit in with you. And you'll seek your own group from your own progress. And a lot of men don't have that nowadays. A lot of men haven't even been working on themselves to make their own group of people and their own group. And the reason why so many men are depressed and lonely are because they seek the group that has so much social validation, yet this group has a lot of bad habits that ruin their life and makes them feel like shit. But they're going to seek it because it has social validation and it makes them feel good. Unlike the delayed gratification one and the one that makes them feel good in the later run and that actually makes them a better person, they prefer instant gratification instead of delayed. So they're going to go for the instant gratification habits that make their life worse. And this is why so many men are falling into this addiction, because they're just friends with a bunch of losers that don't even want to change their life for the better, and they're becoming influenced by it. And then there's some men that just feel lonely and don't have any people to actually like talk to. Because of that, it makes their life shitty, because they have no one to go talk to when they feel down. They have no one to level up with in life. So they just need friends. And these men just need more love and intimacy in their life, and they just need a level up, especially you, bro. Now, I hope this guide has helped you, and I hope it has provided a bunch of value for your life. This guide has taken me a while to make, and I hope it provides a bunch of value for you and it changes your life. And if you have not already, bro, leave a like, subscribe, and comment if it has changed your life and view on NoFab and fabbing in general. And I hope this actually provides value for you, bro, and I hope it changes your life for the better. And without further ado, bro, I'll see you very soon. Whoop-pow, whoop-pow.